Thanks to my Ko-fi supporters that make these videos possible. You can also get a deck review on my weekly Tuesday and Sunday streams. It's the best way to support the channel.
Hello everyone. Generally speaking, attitudes about Spider-Man seem very, very low. In fact, much lower than I anticipated. The failings of this set are multifaceted, and also point to larger cracks in the Universes Beyond model that Wizards is currently pushing. I wanted to cover the topic here as someone who is very invested in Magic, not only as a hobby, but as someone who regularly hears his viewers' opinions in this matter and help identify those points of failure this set has, as well as some of its strengths. And not strengths to Wizards, mind you. Yes, these crossover sets make Wizards a lot of money, but we are not Wizards. So the positives and negatives in this video are only in regards to the player base. I'm not trying to fearmonger here as well. Magic has survived far worse than this. Throne of Eldraine. And I'll try to display the positives of this set where I can. But overall, I want to highlight the negative factors of this set that made it a miss overall from Wizards of the Coast. Okay, let's start by pointing out the fact that Universes Beyond is a touchy topic. I think there's more nuance here than it's bad, but the bad has definitely been outweighing the good. Let's start with the positives. First, Universes Beyond does in fact bring in more players to the hobby. This is something I've seen with my own eyes, especially from the Final Fantasy set. Now, I can only go off personal anecdotes, but the people who onboard into Magic from Universes Beyond are majorly invested players. As in, they're not just tourists into the hobby. The players I've been meeting who have come in from a crossover set are actually invested in Magic as its own thing now, not just in the way that it's related to their existing fandom. Not to say that people who just collect and move on don't exist, but I haven't met them if they're out there. And even if they are out there, they're in such a minor amount that this is still a positive point. Let me know if you have experience that contradicts me in the comments below here. Overall though, more Magic and players is a good thing. Very happy about the outcome this has regarding player numbers. Secondly, Universes Beyond does a great job creating incredible design space that otherwise would not have been explored by Wizards, without the strangeness that comes with translating an existing character or world into Magic's mechanics. I personally love the summon cycle from Final Fantasy, and I don't believe we would have gotten designs as cool as the ones that we did if Wizards of the Coast wasn't trying to top down an existing property. The same can be said for other sets as well. What I mean to say here is that I feel like Universes Beyond pushes Wizards of the Coast to be creative in awesome ways. Biotransference, Nuka-Cola vending machine, Deadpool, Ensnared by the Mara, all super interesting designs that probably wouldn't have made it into Magic without the top-down design challenges that Universes Beyond proposes to R&D. This being said, inspiration is free, and this can all be done in the Magic universe without charging you a licensing fee. Through the Owen Paths is proof that just about any design that is taken from an outside source can be magicified. This point about inspired design also leads us into our first negative point. R&D seems to have a nasty habit of pushing cards that are important for a set's success. I say seems to because as far as I'm aware, there's no admission that it's actually this. Please let me know down below if there is. But Universes Beyond does seem to produce some of the worst power creep I've seen in recent years, in some of the most iconic pieces. It makes sense, right? I mean, Fireball in every modern version of Dungeons & Dragons is pushed way beyond any other spell, and it's because it's iconic. People would be upset if Fireball sucked. And in the same vein, people would be upset if the One Ring sucked. People would be upset if their favorite little black mage Vivi sucked. People are invested in these constructs, and to have them be unplayably bad would cause a ton of grief. The issue is, the same thing happens, and arguably worse, if they are unplayably good. New players from Final Fantasy who love Vivi as a character have no chance to play him. He will be banned in Standard soon, and he's a boogeyman in the most popular format to these newer players. All of this headache because people love Vivi, and therefore we should push him. By pushing these cards, you make them inaccessible in a way that is far worse than if they were a weaker Magic the Gathering card. Moving on to the next big issue with Universes Beyond, you can tell when R&D care. This is a double-edged sword a bit. On one hand, Doctor Who is obviously beloved by a lot of nerds at Wizards of the Coast, as is Final Fantasy. For Spider-Man though, you can really see the interest wasn't the 100% it was for those other sets. What the hell is web slinging supposed to represent? Surface level memes are referenced on cards like Imposter Syndrome and Guy in the Chair. A lot of designs feel a bit like rehashes. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Commander player and a cube enjoyer. I love more redundancy for my beloved singleton formats, but Gwenom is just Bolas' Citadel again. Electro is just Bergie or Stormkiln Artist again. The Mayhem mechanic is just Madness again. Parker Luck is just Keen Duelist again. Morlurn is just Maga Traitor to Mortals again. Villainous Wrath is just Deadly Tempest again. Peter Parker's Camera is just Strionic Resonator again. I could go on listing rares here, but a lot of the design in the set feels like well-trodden ground. Now, don't take my position here as an absolute. I like quite a few designs in this set, like Mr. Negative, Urban Retreat, and Spot Living Portal, but they are the minority when compared to the amount of effects on cards here that have already seen the light of day in sets prior. Like, tell me in Lord of the Rings, what's similar to Lorien Revealed? Or what's similar to Palantir of Orthanc? For Doctor Who, what card does the Master Multiplied or Weeping Angel most look like? You can come up with adjacents, but they're looser than the ones that we find in Spider-Man. There are no designs that pop for me in Spider-Man that maybe you just think, wow, that's inspired. Like, you don't even have to like the designs that I just listed as examples, but you can at least feel the presence of a fan behind them. Okay, it's about time we probably address what is the worst administrative failing regarding any Magic set I've ever seen. Through the Omen Paths. Now, I actually quite like a lot of the alternative arts that we got in Through the Omen Paths. It's really funny to see all these giant spiders from across the multiverse, as well as art from a smattering of other planes. It does feel like a core set, kind of in that way, and I find it kind of cute. In fact, I'm proxying a lot of these into paper for cubes and stuff. This all being said, this should have never happened in the first place. Everyone agrees on this fact. My first video that covers Universes Beyond, I literally said my worst nightmare would be to partner with a company with a tight grip on its licensing agreements. The fact that Wizards of the Coast favors the brand name of Marvel more than the reprintability of a set is a scary prospect. Now, yes, when we do get reprints, they'll be the Omen Paths versions, so reprinting them isn't the issue. It's a lot more on principle though, right? Also, it's confusing as hell to have multiple names for the same card. We've done it before with The Walking Dead Secret Lair and Stranger Things, but that was with a handful of cards. A whole set, though? How many times in the future will this happen again? Literally the day after the full digital reveals of both Spider-Man and the Omen Path cards, I was streaming, as I normally do, my viewer commander deck reviews. We were looking at a Flicker deck, and someone mentioned Spectral Restitching as a cool card for the deck. I typed the name into the search bar. Nothing came up. I was confused. Oh, wait, that chatter meant Hide on the Ceiling. Now yes, I quickly identified the true card name and was only confused for a moment, but I am not representative of most of the Magic population. Sure, something like a future paper printing of Fleam might be recognizable enough of a design to realize that it's Green Goblin and therefore you shouldn't double up on them there. But can you really say the same for Agent Venom and Rylex, Black Cat and Wrench, Spider-Woman and Makadi and Itla? Those are all rares too, by the way. There's already a pretty decent divide between online and paper players already, and I feel like this makes the gap even larger. I think the final major issue that people have with Universes Beyond is that of price. Pre-releases are averaging $50 for this set that is offering nothing new. Wizards of the Coast have made it clear from this set and sets prior that the consumer will be the one eating the licensing fees for the settings they didn't even ask to be in Magic. Not saying that to try and rile anyone up, by the way. I'm sure this Spider-Man crossover made some Spider-Man fans really happy. There's definitely crossovers I'd kill to have be translated into Magic. That being said, I would immediately sacrifice any of my Universes Beyond dreams if the copyright holder wasn't playing ball in terms of licensing for reprints or fees. Which in the case of Bloodborne is Sony, so bummer. I find it astonishing, a few years ago, I was able to pay about $45 for the entire Warhammer Necron precon, and now pre-release for a below average standard set costs that much. Something just isn't adding up. Of course, there's the issue of scalping these products as well, but that's treading well off course from the topic of Spider-Man. In conclusion, Spider-Man feels like a rehash of a lot of old designs that accumulate into a set that is not trying to do anything new, especially when it's compared to other Universes Beyond products. The Omen Path printings of these cards for digital hint at licensing disagreements that Wizards administration flagrantly ignored, not only to the cost of themselves, but at the cost of the consumer. And high pre-release costs also indicate high licensing fees that were passed down to you and I. Doesn't look good. I'm pretty disappointed with how this set was handled, and I hope we don't see a mess like this again. As a brief, unscripted aside, by the way, I really don't like how Universes Beyond really pushes a lot of legendaries. I feel like it's causing a lot of legend bloat. Despite being a Commander player, one of my favorite sets this last year was Edge of Eternities, and that set, in grand total, had like 8 legendary creatures in it, which was really actually refreshing, and I ended up using a lot of cards from that set, even in my Commander decks, despite it not being legend-focused. When it comes to something like Spider-Man, though, you want to play with all the named characters, and the named characters can't not be legendary, and you end up with like a 60 legendary set or something. Hang on, let me actually pull it up right now. Set Spider-Man type legendary. Okay, even in a set without a Commander precon to its name, there are 80 cards in this set that are legendary. How many are creatures? Type creature. 79. So, I don't like it. I remember when being legendary meant something. I haven't been playing as long as a lot of other people have, so it's a little tiring.